Brazil, five-time world champions. The most decorated team in the history of this sport. The country where football isn't just a game, it's a religion. And right now, at the 2026 World Cup, they are sitting on 1 point from their opening match. They drew 1-1 with Morocco. Without their best player. Without the man they built this whole campaign around. Without Neymar. But here's the thing. That's not even the worst part of this story. Because what's unfolding right now isn't just a bad week. It's not just bad timing. What's happening to Neymar and to Brazil is the same nightmare they have lived through before. Over and over again. At tournament after tournament. At the worst possible moments. And this time, there's a real chance it ends differently than anyone expected. Stay with this. Because the full picture of what's happening to Brazil is something that needs to be told from the beginning. To understand where Brazil is right now, you need to go back to May 17, 2026. Santos versus Coritiba, a regular Brazilian league match. Neymar sustained a grade 2 calf injury during Santos's 3-0 defeat to Coritiba. A soft tissue injury. Painful, but survivable. The kind of injury that, with rest and rehabilitation, heals in 2 to 3 weeks. The timing, though, was catastrophic. The very next day, he was called up by Carlo Ancelotti for Brazil's World Cup squad, to widespread celebration and excitement across the country. The prodigal son returning. The icon coming back for one last dance on the biggest stage in the sport. A grade 2 calf strain was likely to sideline the veteran forward for 2 to 3 weeks, making his participation in Brazil's opener against Morocco far from certain. So right from the announcement, there was a cloud hanging over it. The question being asked in every press conference, every training session, every sports broadcast in Brazil, would Neymar be fit in time? The answer, as it turned out, was no. Carlo Ancelotti confirmed Neymar would miss Brazil's opening match of the FIFA World Cup 2026 against Morocco. And then, just when Brazil fans thought they knew the scope of the problem, the news got worse. Missing one match, that was the original fear. One game, then he'd be back. But what sources are now reporting suggests the situation is significantly more serious than that. And if those reports are right, Brazil may have to navigate the entire group stage of the World Cup without the player they brought out of international exile. Here's what we know. The 34-year-old forward is not expected to return for Brazil until the knockout stages, ESPN reported, citing sources, as he continues to recover from a grade 2 calf injury. Read that again. The knockout stages. Not the Haiti game on June 20th. Not the Scotland fixture. The round of 16, if Brazil makes it that far. Neymar has not returned to team training and repeated the medical examination he underwent a week earlier, with the results not yet confirmed by the Brazilian Football Confederation. That is a significant development for Brazil, which already opened Group C with a 1-1 draw against Morocco. Even if Neymar is medically cleared later, match fitness is another hurdle. A player who has not trained fully with the squad since before the tournament would likely need to be managed carefully, especially with a soft tissue injury that can be aggravated by a rushed return. Ancelotti, for his part, has been measured and calm in his public comments, as you would expect from a man who has managed Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, and AC Milan. He said Neymar is working very hard to recover as quickly as possible, and that the expectation was for him to rejoin the group, though the timeline left his availability for the Haiti fixture in doubt. Ancelotti has already ruled out replacing Neymar in Brazil's squad, despite several capable players being available and waiting for a call-up. That last decision raised a few eyebrows. Brazil's depth is extraordinary. There are world-class forwards sitting at home right now who didn't make the cut. And the manager is carrying an injured 34-year-old who may not play a single minute of group football. Whether that is loyalty, strategy, or a calculated gamble, the jury is still out. Now, if this were the first time, it would be a tragedy, a piece of bad luck, a cruel twist of fate. But this is not the first time, not even close. To truly understand the weight of this moment, you have to trace the pattern. Because Neymar's relationship with World Cup injuries is one of the most painful and recurring storylines in modern football. 2014, Brazil. Home soil. Neymar was 22 years old. He was the golden boy. Brazil was hosting the World Cup for the first time in 64 years. The weight of a nation, the expectation, the pressure, the hysteria, was all on his shoulders. Neymar played in all three of Brazil's group stage matches in the 2014 World Cup, but the toll of the games left issues for the Brazilian star. He suffered from severe thigh and knee bruising. He played through it. He refused to come off. He was Brazil's heartbeat. And then came the quarterfinal against Colombia. Neymar suffered a back fracture in the quarterfinals that ruled him out. Colombian defender Juan Camilo Zuniga drove a knee into his spine. The fracture was 2 centimeters from his spinal cord. Neymar later described what the doctor told him when he woke up in hospital. There was good news and bad news. The bad news: the World Cup was over. The good news: 2 centimeters to the side, and his football career would have been over too. Brazil had to face another humiliation and lost 7-1 against Germany in the semi-final in 2014. Without their best player, in front of their own fans. In what became known as the mini Razzo, one of the most brutal results in the history of the sport, Neymar watched from a hospital bed. 2018, Russia. In the 2018 World Cup in Russia, Neymar did not seem normal during the matches as he had recently recovered from a fractured metatarsal and severe ankle sprain. He came into the tournament having barely played in months. He was physically there, but never fully himself. He lacked full fitness throughout the tournament, but played in all 5 matches, where he scored 2 goals and provided an assist. Brazil went out to Belgium in the quarterfinals, again without their best version of Neymar. 2022, Qatar. Neymar was replaced in the 80th minute of Brazil's opening 2-0 win over Serbia after a heavy tackle by Nikola Milinkovic. His right ankle was visibly swollen. Neymar missed Brazil's remaining 2 World Cup group games and faced a fight to be fit for the knockout stage after sustaining ligament damage in his right ankle. He came back. He returned for the knockout rounds. He scored a stunning extra-time goal against Croatia in the quarterfinals. Brazil were moments away from the semi-final. And then Croatia equalized and won on penalties. Neymar was eliminated, again, in the quarterfinals. Again, this time, in tears, face buried in his hands on the turf. 3 World Cups, 3 major injuries, 3 quarterfinal exits, or worse. A pattern so consistent it borders on the surreal. 3 tournaments. 3 times a body that has given everything to football has refused to cooperate at the moment it mattered most. 3 times Brazil have had to ask themselves the same question: can we do this without him? But in 2026, there is something different about that question. Because Brazil in 2026 is not the same team as Brazil in 2014 or 2022. And that changes everything about what happens next. The Morocco result, a 1-1 draw, was not a disaster. It was not a triumph either. But read between the lines, and there is something worth seeing. Vinicius Jr. equalized in the 32nd minute with a dazzling solo effort after Ismail Saibari had given Morocco a 21st-minute lead. One player, taking the ball, beating defenders on his own, and delivering when Brazil needed it most. Morocco, impressive in their high press and organization, showed they remain a formidable side following their 2022 quarterfinal run. The match ended in a hard-fought draw, with Alisson producing key saves late to secure a point. Vinicius Jr. is widely regarded as Brazil's key player heading into the tournament, with Neymar also attracting major attention following his return. And that gap in perception, Vinicius as the key player, Neymar as the attraction, is actually quite revealing. The 2026 Brazil squad was not built around Neymar. It was built around what Brazil has become in his absence. Alongside Neymar, there are some other incredible talents in the attack, such as Real Madrid star Vinicius Jr., Barcelona winger Rafinha, and current Flamengo attacking midfielder Lucas Paqueta. Ancelotti is expected to use a 4-man defense with a balanced midfield and dynamic attack. What Ancelotti has constructed is a system capable of functioning at the highest level without any single player. His Real Madrid teams were renowned for exactly this: collective resilience, depth, the ability to find different winners at different moments. The gap between Vinicius Jr.'s stellar output at Real Madrid and his modest record in a yellow shirt remains glaring, and that is perhaps the greatest challenge for Brazil in the short term. Getting their best club player to translate that brilliance to the international stage consistently. But if any manager can unlock that, it is Ancelotti. He did it with him at club level. He built the trust. He knows the player. Brazil is not broken without Neymar. They are incomplete. There is a difference. There is something that needs to be said directly because it has been said loudly in Brazil and in football circles around the world. Should Neymar have been selected at all? Neymar's presence in the squad at 34 could prove a distraction. A grade 2 calf strain had ruled him out of Brazil's warm-up games and left his availability for the June 13th opener against Morocco uncertain. Rodrigo stands out as one of the unexpected absences from Brazil's squad. Rodrigo, who was Brazil's top scorer since 2023 with 8 international goals, is not at the World Cup due to injury. There were others left behind too. João Pedro, Richarlison, Savinho, Gabriel Jesus, André Santos, and 113 cap Thiago Silva all missed out on Ancelotti's final selection. Those are serious, ready, match-fit players. Players who could be contributing right now. Instead, Brazil are carrying an injured 34-year-old who has not played for his country since October 2023, a gap of nearly 2.5 years. Neymar has not featured for the Seleção since 2023, adding intrigue to his inclusion in the 2026 squad. Ancelotti defended the decision to bring Neymar, saying Brazil valued both his technical quality and his presence around the squad. That second part is interesting. His presence around the squad. Not just what he does on the pitch, but what he does in the dressing room, in training, in the culture of the group. Neymar at 34, even injured, brings something intangible that a younger substitute cannot replicate. Experience. Calm under pressure. The weight of someone who has been to 3 World Cups and knows exactly what this environment demands. Whether that is enough justification is a debate that will not be resolved easily. But Ancelotti has made his call, and now Brazil has to live with it. The selection controversy, the injury curse, the 1-1 draw against Morocco. All of it is the build-up. All of it is context. Because what this entire video has been building toward is the question that actually matters. Not whether Neymar should have been selected. Not whether he is fit enough for Haiti. The real question, the one that will define this World Cup, and potentially the final chapter of one of football's greatest careers, is what happens if he comes back. And the answer to that is far more complicated than anyone is talking about. Let's talk about the real weight of this moment. Not the calf injury. Not the Morocco draw. The full picture. Neymar is 34 years old. He left Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia and returned to boyhood club Santos, the place where it all began, as part of what everyone understood to be the final act of his career. After leaving Paris Saint-Germain for Al Hilal in 2023, Neymar ruptured his ACL while playing for Brazil and spent nearly 18 months fighting to get back onto the pitch. The ACL was the injury that nearly ended everything. A year and a half of rehabilitation. Surgery. Setback after setback. And just when he seemed to be finding some form back at Santos, the calf. Again, Brazil's all-time leading scorer with 79 international goals was not available for the Group C clash despite being included in coach Carlo Ancelotti's squad. 79 goals for his country. The most in Brazilian history. More than Ronaldo. More than Romario. More than Zico or Pelé. And yet, for all those goals, for all those moments of genius, Neymar has never won a World Cup. The one thing his talent was always supposed to guarantee. The one trophy that would have cemented his place among the greatest who ever played the game. It has eluded him. Every time. In 2014, he was the best player in the tournament before the injury took him. In 2022, he was back to something close to his best before Croatia broke Brazilian hearts. Each time, the football has been good enough. The body just hasn't cooperated. And now here we are. 2026, what is almost certainly his last World Cup. He is sitting in a stadium in New Jersey watching his teammates play Morocco without him, undergoing a medical examination that will determine how much, if anything, he can contribute. If the ESPN report is right, and he doesn't return until the knockout stages, Brazil need to win their remaining group games first. The result leaves Brazil needing stronger performances in upcoming group games against Haiti and Scotland to advance from Group C. Haiti is the weakest team in Group C, but no team at a World Cup should be dismissed. Scotland, meanwhile, just beat Haiti themselves, which means they are alive and dangerous. Brazil needs points. They need to qualify, and they need to do it without their talisman. If they manage that, if Vinicius and Rafinha and Paqueta carry Brazil into the round of 16, then Neymar potentially walks back into the team for a knockout match at a World Cup. Fresh, recovered, with something to prove. And that scenario, improbable as it might seem right now, could actually work in Brazil's favor. Think about it. Neymar, rested and recovered, entering the knockout stages of a World Cup while Brazil are already in rhythm. No pressure from the group stage. No accumulated fatigue. Coming in as a super sub, a game changer, a weapon that the opposition hasn't had to prepare for throughout the tournament because he hasn't featured. It is, in some ways, the ideal scenario for deploying a 34-year-old recovering from a soft tissue injury. You don't need him for the games you should win. You need him for the games that matter most. Whether Ancelotti sees it that way, or whether circumstances even allow for it, remains to be seen. But if Brazil stays disciplined, stays together, and builds momentum without Neymar, and then he walks back through that door, the story shifts completely. Because the real question was never whether Brazil can survive without Neymar. They clearly can. Vinicius is world-class. Rafinha is in the form of his life. The squad has depth and quality all over the pitch. The real question is this: can Neymar, in whatever minutes he gets at this World Cup, finally get the ending his talent deserved? Can the body that has betrayed him across 3 tournaments hold together for one more run? Can the most naturally gifted Brazilian player of his generation finally lift the one trophy that has always been just out of reach? That is the story of Brazil at the 2026 World Cup. It was always going to be about Neymar, even when he's not playing. Even when he's sitting in the stands in a training kit, watching his teammates fight to keep his dream alive. And when he comes back, if he comes back, the whole world will be watching. Brazil's next match is against Haiti on June 20th. Then Scotland. Then, if Ancelotti's team does its job, the knockout stages begin. And somewhere in all of that, a 34-year-old man with 79 international goals and a calf injury is doing everything he can to be ready. The World Cup waits for no one. But Brazil is waiting for Neymar. Stay subscribed for updates throughout the tournament. There is a lot more of this story still to be written.